He's out of his mind.
I can't believe he said that.
This is Ahead for Sports with Kevin Heath.
Hello, welcome again to another episode of Ahead for Sports with Kevin Heath. Again, this is your host, Kevin Heath, and I just wanted to say thank you for all of those that took the time to watch my shorts and to watch the video. I really do appreciate that. To the bottom of my soul, I just am so appreciative for the time that you took to watch it. And so I hope that we get better with time doing this. I really do hope that we grow together as in an audience and as a group. I really hope that that we get better at this as time goes on. You know, this is just a thing that's just going to get better and better as time goes on. So I just hope that you'll come along for the journey, and I hope that you really do enjoy this. So let's get started with the player of the day. And the player of the day is Aja Wilson. She scored 34 points and 10 rebounds the other night against the LA Sparks, and in a victory, 89-74. She became the woman with the most 30-point, 10-rebound games in WNBA history. She's the reigning MVP. She's an incredible player. Anytime I get a chance to watch her, she's just magnificent. I mean, she's just a beast out there. Women among girls, just an incredible player, and it's just amazing to watch her. Now on to the games of interest. So the first game of interest would be the PGA Tour Wyndham Championship. This is supposed to run through the weekend, and this is going to be the last tournament before the PGA goes into the FedEx Cup. So this is a big end of the season tournament before they go right into that big tournament, the FedEx Cup. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And then also we have the Pro Football Hall of Fame coming up on Friday. They're going to be doing their enshrinement, so everyone should take a chance to check that out. Thursday, which will be after when this video is released, the Lions and the Chargers are supposed to be playing. So that's really the thing that I'm most interested in, is just watching the game. I like watching the enshrinement, but I usually watch the speeches online. But I don't usually watch them live personally, but that's just me. And then finally, there's the basketball tournament, and I believe that prize is for $1 million, which is, that can be life-changing money for some people. And so it's 3-on-3 basketball. It's supposed to be very interesting, and all these different people get together and create teams and try to go through this tournament. So I think it'll be pretty exciting to watch. I usually watch a handful of games, but it's 3-on-3. It's not the same as watching the full 5-on-5 basketball, but that's what I normally enjoy. So, but that's, that may be your cup of tea. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, now on to the foul of the day. And the foul of the day is going to go to our wonderful friend, President Donald Trump, who signed this executive order that's supposed to, quote unquote, save college football, or at least save college athletics. And it's supposed to create all these standards and use the federal government to help enforce them, to help make it easier on the power conferences. The problem with it is that it's not a law, it's not enforceable, so it doesn't have a lot of teeth. He can do a few things with it, but he can't do as much as he claims it can with the executive order. Now, with this bill that's coming through Congress, that might be the problem for these student athletes, because it's supposed to curb a lot of the power that they have right now. But I mean, that just depends on if you're for or against player empowerment. It's just whatever it is your cup of tea. I'm not going to divulge my opinion on it yet, because I plan on to discuss it in a future episode. But when I do, I will write up something and I will discuss it then. And then finally, we're going to do the word of the day. This week we're going to talk about the Major League Baseball collective bargaining agreement getting ready to expire in 2026. And while this is going on, the commissioner, Rob Manfred, is going to the clubhouses and discussing the quote-unquote economics of baseball. And really what he's discussing is wanting to install a hard cap on the players to quote-unquote help save baseball. But the problem with that is you can't have a hard cap without a floor. And I think baseball needs a cap because of the economics that are involved. You got these large market teams that are spending out of control, and then you have these small market teams that don't want to spend anything at all. And then it's literally destroying the middle class of players who are maybe losing a little bit of their edge, maybe not having quite or maybe they can still play, but they're not being offered the contracts because of the economics, because one, you either got teams that don't want to spend, or you got teams that spend all their money on one or two players, and that's what we're dealing with. So the only way to really help curb that would be to install a salary cap. But for that to happen, you have to have a few things. And one of the most important things you gotta have is you gotta have a floor. And that means that all the owners have to spend a percentage of that salary to the players. The other thing they gotta be able to do is they gotta have revenue sharing. And now the small market owners want revenue sharing because they know that these larger markets are making these humongous deals off of some of these regional networks, even though they're kind of dying on the vine, but they're still making that money. And so they're wanting a part of that, and they're wanting to pull all that money together and then split it evenly among the 30 teams. But they don't want that floor, because if they get the floor, then they have to spread that wealth back out to the players, and they don't want to do that. Well, that's another thing that they have to do, is that they would have to agree to a percentage of baseball related revenue, which is merchandising, television rights, ticket sales, etc. And so, which I think they do that in these previous collective bargaining agreements, and they would have to do that in this current bargaining agreement. So the owners would still have to spend a certain percentage of their baseball related revenue in order to appease the players. Now, in my article that I wrote, I calculated that baseball's economics shows that it's about $12.1 billion a year in revenue. And $12.1 billion, that's a lot of money. That's one, I mean, I think that's greater than what the NBA is drawing in. So, per year, for this new television deal kicks in next season. So they're going to have to figure out something, a plan for this revenue sharing. So when they do the split, it comes out to roughly about $5.5 billion or $6.5 billion, roughly a little more than $6 billion a piece per club, or I should say per side. That's probably the more correct saying. And so then you split that among the 30 teams. Well, when I calculated that up, that was coming up just under $200 million per team. And then if you put in a salary floor of, let's say, about 87.5%, that would come in about $175 million. So even these small market teams would have to fork over $175 million to pay for player salaries. And then you still have that money that hasn't been spent, because most of these teams are going to spend right up to the cap. If it's a hard cap, they're going to spend right up to it, close to it, as close as possible. And those that don't, well, then there's ways to remedy that. You can either split the money evenly among the players on the team, each individual team, so they're all getting an equal amount of the share that's left over, or you pull all that money together into a single pool and you split it among all the major league players. So that way, they all get their percentage. Everyone is happy, and baseball gets a better economic system. Now, will that happen? Probably not. And here's why. You got 3 different factions that are basically fighting tooth and nail to keep from having this cap installed. First one is you have the players union. They don't want a cap at all. And mostly it's from these powerful agents that don't want their mega stars not be able to get their mega deals. Because if you put a cap on every team, then they only have so much money to spend on their mega stars, because some of that money has to be spent on their other players, which allows for healthier economic positioning for your middle class and lower class players. Because if they can't get that $700 million contract, they may only get a $500 million contract. Well, that extra $20 million a year that they're not getting, well, that money is going to go back towards the other players. And they don't want that to happen, because that's less money that's going into a Boras pocket or another powerful agent's pocket. And so they don't want that to happen. So then you have small market teams. The small market teams, they don't want a salary floor for the reasons I stated earlier. If they have a salary floor, well, then they have to spend it on their players. And they don't want it to. They want that revenue sharing. They want that extra money flowing in from the larger markets. so they can pocket that money, but they don't want to spend it on their players. They just want to hold on to it. Well, if they have a floor, well then that money has to be spent on their players, and they don't want that. That's the last thing they want. Well, then you have your large market teams. And your large market teams, they don't want to have a salary cap at all. They don't want a floor. They don't want a cap. They don't want anything. They want to leave things just the way it is, just like the players' union. And the reason why is because they want to be able to spend what they want, when they want, how they want to spend it. And they can't do that if they're under the restraints of a salary cap system. So that means that they can't have those mega deals. They can't stack up superstars. They have to work within the framework of this economic system that they don't want to be in. So that's the reason why they're fighting it so hard. So you got these three factions that are saying, I don't want baseball to be under a salary cap for this reason. And they're all doing it for their own selfish reasons. Not for the betterment of the game, not for the betterment of players, not for the betterment of the fans. They're doing it for their own selfish economic reasons. So that's why I don't believe that a salary cap is going to get implemented in this next collective bargaining agreement unless they agree on a cap and a floor. And if those two things can't come together, then you're not going to get that. And I just don't think that we can get all three of those factions to come together and agree to those terms. And that's why I think that that's not going to happen. So anyway, that's the end of this episode of Ahead for Sports. And I really hope that you enjoyed this. And I hope that you will come back and watch the next episode. I hope to have another episode up on Monday. And I hope that you all have a nice weekend. And I hope you have fun watching your sports. Have a good one. Bye.
He's out of his mind.
I can't believe he said that.
This is Ahead for Sports with Kevin Heath.